we have sound? Check, check. 1, 2, 3. Cool. Great. Awesome. Cheers, guys. We have sound, we have audio. We don't know for how long, but we'll keep going until we get shut up. Well, YOLO. Let's eat some cauliflower snacks. It's cheddar flavored. It was on sale for $1.50. I'm gonna eat it, and then we'll make. Actually, I forgot to put sugar in the tea, but it's probably for the best. We've had audio issues before. It might not be censorship. It might just be my phone. But again, I think we've been, made aware of the fact that mining for the materials that is necessary for assembling technology like your phones is also causing displacement, genocide, rape, misery. So, I think my lo-fi way of living, even though it is very trash panda-y, is for the best. I feel good living off of trash, and I feel good not upgrading every time we can have an upgrade, and so we're just gonna do lo-fi all the way. Lo-fi for life, I don't need it. I think I ate these ones when I still worked at Delish and they were on the free table. I don't think I liked them very much, but for old time's sake, let's eat it. Let's try it. Did stream hang for anyone else? I don't know what that means. I like it. Yes. It's very like powdery almost. It tastes like, well, I'll tell you what it's made of. It's made of cassava flour and sunflower oil and cauliflower and parboiled rice and rice flour and sorghum and brown rice. So it's very kind of like softly gritty. It has a kind of like normal packaged snack taste. I wouldn't say it's cheddary. It's got more of like a nutritional yeast cheddar taste than cheddar taste. What they used to flavor it with is a vegetable blend of spinach, broccoli, carrot, tomato, beet, shiitake, mushroom, paprika extract. So it is kind of funky, yeah. I dig it. We'll have more of it. But I need to get started on assembling some dumplings before I get completely distracted and tired and exhausted. So let's move you over. I was having you on this side of the kitchen because I needed to charge you for a little bit, but great. Now we're mostly charged-ish. And I think I should turn on the other light. I think that's a little bit better. Onion dip inside the crisp sounds absolutely delectable. That's a great idea. All right, I've already chopped some cabbage up and I threw it in with some salt, so it's kind of marinating in there. We're gonna chop up some scallions and throw them in there too. If you just found me, I'm gonna warn you, Dawn, that this is not like previous content that you've seen from me. I've been told that it is more depressing, less entertaining, and not about cooking. So I'm just setting expectations for you right now that this is not a finished edited video like the ones that you might have seen from 2 years ago. That's great. I'm glad. I hope you still like me by the end of this live. And if you don't, that is totally okay too. Well, guys, what should we talk about now that we are thoroughly exhausted from the destruction of the world? Just really exhausting seeing history repeat itself, you know? Like, be awesome if we learned and not do this again, but we keep doing it, so. Are you thinking about doing those kinds of videos again? If I ever feel motivated to. Right now, motivation is pretty low, you know? I think witnessing a genocide kind of puts everything else on the back burner. It makes me reframe and reconsider my life, our lives, our existence, our world, the businesses that are entrenched and implicated in this crime. You know, YouTube is owned by Google. Google search is the #1 visited website in the world. And YouTube is second. And YouTube is owned by Google, which means Google rules our entire virtual world, which basically means at this point it rules our world, period. You know, so the way that I get any sort of income from making these videos is by getting ad money, and people who sell ads on Google and YouTube are probably the same people who are condoning, enabling, and encouraging genocide. There is no real ethical way to make a living on here. So, you know, it's gonna have to motivate me to do videos that I'm not doing for money, because that's never been the point. And I think, given that I've been making the same format of videos for over 3 years now, I'm getting a little tired of it, and I also don't really see much of a point in it. I feel like through all of my past videos, I've kind of taught viewers all the funkiness that I do with food, and I truly don't know if I have anything else to say. If you could go back in time with the mind you have now to 9 years old and you have to relive life from that age, would you? No, why would I? I don't want to suffer through all that shit again. Absolutely not. I do not want to relive the past. And I've asked myself this question many, many times ever since my mom passed away. Would I go back in time? And, you know, obviously in the beginning of her passing, I would have regretted so much of my life, and I probably would have wanted to do a do-over, but I think after a few months of grieving, I realized that, like, this moment will come. Either that or I die before she does, in which case it might be even worse, honestly. I don't want to sound too, like, haughty about it, but I almost feel like I have the mental capacity to deal with my mom dying that my mom does with me dying. So I think for both of us, her dying before me dying is the better choice of the two, if we had a choice at all. And so I think after the initial numbness and shock of really understanding that my mom had died, I realized that no, I don't really want to relive life. I don't want to do over, because this is the way life happens. And there really is no negotiating anyway, so. I don't really want to become rich. Do you see what the rich people of the world are doing? Why would I want to be rich? Maybe once we can collectively figure out what the fuck is going to happen to Palestine, and after we can collectively absorb the events and grief, let grief run its course a little bit. I mean, right now it's just so hard. I was expecting seasonal depression. I wasn't expecting genocide. So it's just insanely difficult for me to imagine ever being so motivated again. White pepper is going in. Yes, one must assume Sisyphus is happy. I know. I know. Soy sauce, vinegar, sesame oil, MSG has already gone in. It went in with the cabbage. So we're gonna do a little mixy mix and see how this tastes. Oh, I actually need to go in with garlic and ginger. Chinese black vinegar indeed, you know it. Bye, Switzerland. Have a good night. Like, I was contemplating these past few days, you know, how, like, for example, today I was out walking and I realized 20 minutes outside that, oh, I forgot to put on sunscreen. And normally I would be so distressed, I would be like, oh man, my face is gonna get wrinkly, I might increase my chances for skin cancer. These days, though, I'm just like, what the fuck is that about? Why does that even matter? To see that human life can just disappear like that, and to see how miserably it can disappear, and to see the conditions under which we can die, I mean, it is, in a way, both depressing and liberating. I don't think you need to donate to orgs right now. There's no help going into Gaza. The Israeli government is intending on killing everyone. They're killing with their military. They're also arming their citizens to go out and just grab land. Arming them with guns to let them do what they wish. It's basically like the Purge, but in real life. So knowing that that can happen, why would I be worried about anything? Bye, Trinidad. Have a good night. Yes, I know. I know the horrors have happened throughout history. I think what bothers me is that we have seen it happen and we have not really changed course, that we repeat the same nightmares over and over again. And this is really the motivating factor for me not ever wanting to reproduce. I really can't understand the logic behind bringing even more living beings into this cycle of never-ending human stupidity. It's not just violence, it's dumb too. It's really fucking dumb. If we don't think this is going to have repercussions worldwide, where do you think you'll move to once America goes down the toilet? I don't know if anyone's going to take us. We who destabilize internationally and detain people and treat them without an ounce of respect and have propaganda to shame them and to disparage them. I don't know who's going to take us. Who's going to take Americans? Nobody should. And we don't want to conflate the government with the people, but it's going to be very hard to not. Seeing that there are actual citizens in the US who are advocating for the genocide as well as people in government, I don't know what these people are thinking. It just like is incomprehensible to me. I don't know how they live knowing that the money they're getting hinges on other people dying. Hinges on them killing other people. Thank you for offering your place in North Michigan. Anyway, drink time, water break, tea break, whatever you want to break. Garlic, ginger, scallions, cabbage, salt, white pepper, soy sauce, sesame oil, Chinese black vinegar. Stir, stir, stir. We're gonna taste this a little bit before the meat goes in so that I know what it tastes like before the meat goes in. Oh, and there's also a splash of sugar in here as well. Nice. Extra salt. because I want it to be a little bit too salty since the meat is going to displace a lot of that ratio. Yeah, this would be an awesome fried hash. Absolutely, I agree. We're getting there. Tastes good. Hi, Ireland. Ireland is the OG. Y'all are kicking ass. You have politicians who are not afraid to speak out about Palestine, and they seem to be like the only group of white ethnicity who have politicians unafraid to speak out about Palestine. So kudos to your leaders. Maybe we should all move to Ireland. I don't know. They have spirit. Great. Let's dump in the meat. And you know why? It's because Ireland has been through the ringer. They know. They fucking know how this shit works. Yeah, Ireland is pretty expensive. Aaron was just showing me links, and I was like, as expensive as New York? And he was like, pretty much. I don't know if my anxiety is high, but my neurotic nature is extremely high these days. I was already experiencing seasonal depression before the genocide happened, but these days I've started questioning myself a lot. I've started questioning my worth and my value. I started thinking that my friends are annoyed with me. I've started feeling unwanted. And it's just been really emotionally unstable. I think this is all normal. I'm just trying to not take it in. I'm just trying to let it pass through me. I've also noticed that weed has started giving me very intrusive thoughts. It's becoming a more complicated relationship to smoke weed. It's not always pleasant, and I don't know why the change happened, but I might have to take a break soon just to see how my brain rewires itself a little bit, because those intrusive thoughts can get very damaging very quickly, and they feel like I can't escape them. I think I've been smoking indica, but even with indica, even before, I never used to have this reaction. So I'm not really sure if it's the strain at all. I just think that my brain is different. I'm actually allergic to alcohol. I can take a little baby sip. Actually, tonight, maybe we can make a little cocktail. I have been acclimating to some alcohol, but I am kind of allergic. I get the Asian flush quite quickly. I can't do weed edibles, unfortunately. They really fuck me up. They give me gastrointestinal issues, and the high is quite unpleasant for me. I like smoking way better. So I'm about to run out of weed in probably 3 days, and I don't think I'm gonna restock until I figure out what's going on. Or maybe I just need to let myself sit through whatever the fuck we're sitting through right now, you know? Has any country legalized shrooms? Do we have countries where psychedelics are legalized? Okay, I'm gonna fridge this. Sometimes you talk about the things your grandma says. Is it all imaginary, or is there some truth to things she says? Like on Instagram, the scenarios are all imaginary in my reality. They don't exist in my reality. For her, some of the people are real, but she'll say things like, so-and-so is visiting me today, and so-and-so was actually a real person, but so-and-so is definitely not visiting grandma. Grandma will say shit like people are flying in planes to see her, and she'll call out to them mid-air, and they'll jump out of the plane to come see her, like completely unrealistic scenarios. By the way, I miscalculated her age. She's turning 96. She's not turning 95. In January, in 2 months, she'll be turning 96. So that's what we're dealing with. I don't blame you. I also don't want to get that old either. I just made this dough like half an hour before going live, so it's kind of patchy as you see. But I'm at that place in life where I just don't give a shit anymore. So we're just gonna roll with it, okay? Shrooms are legal in Oregon and Colorado. Okay. Pun was unintentional. Believe you me. I do not have the energy for puns right now in my brain. Well, Godzilla Pie, unfortunately, I have to let you know that in my 34 years, I have pooped myself more than once. It happens, unfortunately. So, I don't wish that happens to you, but it has nothing to do with age sometimes. Although I get what you're saying. many times on the internet have you seen strangers confide in each other that they have shat their pants? And this is why I love being on here. And if YouTube takes it away from us, we'll have to find some other way of reconvening, yes? I don't know what Rumble is, but sure. Your lives remind me that I'm not the only human humaning. That is my life purpose. I have always joked with my ex-coworkers that I'm there to fuck up so that they can feel better about their lives and themselves. And I said that in the beginning, like in a self-derogatory way, but I'm leaning into it. I believe it more and more every day, which is why you do kind of have to be careful about what you joke about and what you lie about. But I'm glad that I joked about that, because I truly do believe that if that's my life mission and I can accomplish it, then I have no problem at all having that be my life. It would be an honor. Is it true you can take the New York City subway without? Are you missing a negative in there? I don't know if I've seen anyone masturbate on the subway. It's possible that I wasn't paying attention, because in New York you just learn to not look at everything because there is way too much to look at. But yeah, I mean, for some people the subway is their apartment, you know? Like, if they're homeless, then that's it. That's all they have. So I'm not going to judge, but I'm not going to sit next to it. That is the problem about Rumble and any other platform, is that they will get swallowed up eventually by the big monsters. And then they will just become the big monsters. So we're always going to have to be chasing the underdogs somehow. You want a rolling pin like this? You just go to an Asian store. It's like $2 to $3. Maybe $4 now because inflation. But yes, this is the kind of rolling pin that I grew up using. No French rolling pins for me. I don't like rolling pins that are not the... You know, they have different widths, they have handles. I don't need any of that. Yes, we are making dumplings tonight. Indeed. Amy, I think you need to microwave dumpling skins for yourself. I feel like you're very into it, yes? Is there a place you go to get inspired? Inspired for what? No, not really. Nothing inspires me these days. I used to watch food videos, now I don't watch anything. My Instagram and my YouTube homepage recommendations are all like pop psychology and relationship advice. I think after my Hinge fiasco last autumn, winter, I just like binged all these personality disorder and relationship advice videos and content, and now that's what I'm being served. Life flows, you know? How many dumplings can I make in a day? That's a great question. I don't know. If I stood here 24 hours, would I still be standing by hour 10? That's actually a really interesting and possibly cruel live. I'm not going down the NP video pipeline anymore, but I did go down it pretty intensely for about 4 months. I just needed to understand what the fuck happened to me, you know? And for people who aren't clear, it was not Aaron, so don't get ideas. I wish I had better dumpling making skills, for sure. We could be moving through this way faster. Damn, you just lost mom a few months ago? Shit, I'm sorry. Yep, I mean, that was probably like the most personality, identity changing event in my life thus far. I mean, yes, I think immigrating at a young age definitely molded me, but as an adult, my mom dying was as changing as possible, I think. I think having kind of the glue of my world, the foundation of my upbringing disappear like that so suddenly and without notice, I don't know. Selena salt. Are you a Burlap and Barrel customer? Yes, that is the salt that I use. I'd be curious about that dumpling record. For one, was it one person making it? Did they make the dough from scratch? Did they roll the dough from scratch? Did they use pre-made wrappers? Did they make the filling, or are they just assembling? But still, that is very impressive if it's just one person. Yes, of course I like tortillas. I love anything that has to do with dough and flour, honestly. I'm such a carb monster. I think I've asked several friends now if they could only have rice-based products or wheat-based products, what would they choose? And it's really hard for me. It's like a really hard question. Because there are so many things that you can make with rice too. Rice noodles, rice flour, rice cakes. Senbei, yes. Oh my gosh, rice crackers. Rice rice wrappers, you know, for like Vietnamese summer rolls. Yum. Yeah, all of my tortillas look like some funky, unnamed country somewhere. Summer roll? Summer roll is that chunky little burrito-looking thing. It's like halfway between a spring roll. It's like the size of an egg roll. It's a clear rice wrapper. It usually holds something like shrimp, vermicelli, rice vermicelli, slivered carrots, a little bit of lettuce, and it's wrapped up, and then it's often served with a peanut dipping sauce. Interesting. Plum dumplings. Never heard of such a thing. Wonder what culture that's from. Sounds European. My mom did not make dumplings by hand as a routine. I think she made it a couple of times when we were here in the States just for celebration. But Grandma has almost lost half her teeth. She has trouble chewing. Dumplings are easy for me to make and store in the freezer until I boil them for her every morning. They're familiar foods to her. Otherwise, I would have to make her like steamed buns, and that would involve me having to like steam them after waiting for the yeasted dough to rise and proof, which is way more labor intensive, I feel like. Grandma really wants me to make her manto, which is like steamed bread. I've tried to do that before. I just don't have time to do that. She makes a lot of demands, and some days I just have to say, you know what? This is enough. I'm doing enough, and I can't fulfill all her needs. I think if I lived near a Chinatown where I could buy that stuff fresh every day, I would, but I live too far. So she's gonna have to settle for dumplings and fried donuts, which is, I think, already pretty great. I think she's a little bit tired of the fried donuts, even though she throws a fit every time I say, let's take a break from the donuts. So, you know, it's just not worth it for me to deprive her of the donuts, even though she only eats one piece out of the 4 I make for her every day. It's kind of emotionally exhausting to know that I'm putting in work to make her food that she doesn't really even like. And it's even more exhausting when I acquiesce and agree to make her stuff that she's asked for, and then she critiques my cooking in some way. I now know what my mom felt like dealing with feeding Grandma every day. It's very exhausting, I think. Yes, youtiao. You're very familiar with Chinese food names, huh? There are frozen mantos. I have bought them for her. She complains that they're too sweet tasting because they have like a Southern Chinese, Cantonese flavor leaning. Grandma is picky. She's, for someone who's lived through famine and wartime, her taste buds are extremely sharp and picky, and it's really hard to satisfy her. So I just really, after 2 years of taking care of her, I don't go out of my way for the most part anymore. Like, maybe I'll do it when I'm in the area where there's more Chinese foods being sold, but otherwise, I think me going to see her every day is already enough. gonna run out of battery. Interesting. How's my phone doing? 37%. I'm gonna plug you guys in momentarily, and then I'm going to grab my computer charger. This MacBook is so old. She's so old, guys. I wonder if you can see me here. Mayhaps. Oh god. Sorry. 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 Now you're gonna have oh, you know what? Oh man, I'm so dumb. This is why I have a rechargeable battery ready for you guys. Great. You're charging now, and you're stable. All right, drink break. Cheers. It depends. The apartment is very, very cozy when the heat is on, but the heat only comes on like twice a day, and it's usually on around 6 p.m. and like 4 p.m. It's like very odd hours. Doesn't come on in the dead of night when it's the chilliest for some reason. I don't know how they determine when to kick on the heat. Doesn't make sense to me. All right, our first stack of wrappers is ready to be filled. Nowco, who I haven't seen on a live recently, gifted me the spoon, I think, like weeks after my mom passed away, at an event. Thank you, Nowco, for the kind gift. Here goes our first dumpling. She's cute. Wrapper's a little wonky, but we'll make it work. Can you see okay? I hope so. Pinch, pinch. I sure have had wonkier wrappers. You're not wrong. You know, if I had all day to just make dumplings, I bet I would get really good at it. And I would get really zen at it too. If you guys had all the time in the world and no capitalism underneath your asses lighting you up, what would you want to spend every day doing? Is there like a work activity that you would enjoy? No, I'm not cooking Thanksgiving dinner. For whom would I cook Thanksgiving dinner? Literally no one. Literally no one. Pretend fishing? That's interesting. Look at all these dreams, y'all. Tennis, interesting. You can still play in an orchestra. You can find other people who want to play. Just because you don't have capitalism lighting your ass on fire doesn't mean you can't play. Yeah, you think my dumpling skills are improving? That's great. They are cute, huh? They are so cute. Proud of me. Proud of us. Look at us go. Yo, I love learning about all of your hobbies. Pretty cool, y'all. Y'all are pretty cool folks. Think about it more, okay? Manifest. You might as well dream if you're already living a nightmare, hmm? Maybe the depression is made worse by not having a creative outlet. Very true. So this past week, I've started helping out with some Palestinian support group, I guess you would call it, where they organize actions into a map and a calendar, and all I do is just, this little group kind of aggregates Instagram posts of upcoming protests and marches, and we plot them onto a Google map, and then we make it available for people to check out what events or calls to action are happening around them, and it just feels nice to be able to do something. It's not like a huge life-changing thing, obviously. Nothing we do on our own will be life-changing, but it's something. So yes, it is important to do something, and it is important to do something that matters to you. And I think if there's anything you can do to declaw capitalism, it's to identify what brings you joy to do and to do it. Do not let capitalism dictate what you do with your entire life. That is how you lose yourself. That is how you become... What is her name in Spirited Away? Yeah, that's how you lose your name. Great movie. Chihiro. What was her real name before she had the witch's curse on her? Yeah, the Notion doesn't load for you? That's strange. It should. Let me know. And if you want to join in efforts, you can DM me on Instagram. Oh yes, she was renamed Sen. Thank you. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. That movie had my first anime crush, too. Haku, so hot. There's not much leftovers. I've started eating them. I've been pretty good about not cooking. AKA eating junk this week, so. Honest question, why capitalism? Wouldn't fascism, communism, or anarchy also dictate how you live your life? Yes, absolutely. But capitalism is the ruling ideology right now. So that's the one that I have to fight back against actively if I don't want to commit my entire existence to its willpower. Capitalism is not a hypothetical the way that communism and fascism are. Although slowly we are certainly seeing fascism creep in. Yeah, it's, I guess, all a spectrum, right? I mean, I was born into a so-called communist country, but was it actually a communist country? Or did it just call itself that? There is a difference between actually putting the ideology into practice and just claiming that you are it. We boil these dumplings for Grandma. I also think that if you're getting silence on social media, I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I think if I get completely shadow banned on social media, it's just not worth it anymore, you know, so. Remember whose game you're playing. It's their rules. We will always be beholden to their rules. So if they don't want you to play, I'm afraid we don't have a choice. Do I ever fry dumplings? Yes, there was one morning where I was really tired and I totally forgot that I was supposed to boil these dumplings, and I had the pot of oil going for the youtiao donuts, and I just accidentally dropped the dumplings in there, and oh my god, did it splatter. It was like one of the worst mistakes to have made at 8:30 in the morning when I was barely awake. So yes, I do literally deep fry dumplings, but only when I'm sleep deprived and not awake yet. I don't recommend doing it with homemade dumplings because they do have moisture and they leak and they will splatter. And pot stickers are a more controlled splatter. Aaron did not vote for Trump. What the fuck are you talking about? I think Aaron would like not vote, period. I mean, he might vote for Trump now to, listen guys, if we're only given Trump and Joe Biden, who are you gonna vote for? I'm serious. That might be our reality next year. If we're only given Trump and Joe Biden, and one of them, because of the two-party system, will win, who are you gonna vote for? I'm not gonna vote for Biden. I'm sorry. I'm not. I can't. We're fucked if you guys vote for Biden. You're just asking for more of the same, right? I mean, we're fucked either way. Yes. But at least so far, Trump hasn't killed 10,000 people. So far. Not in one go. Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe this is the election year to go third party. Maybe we'll just have enough of a conscience. I doubt it. America is pretty dumb. But maybe we'll have enough of a conscience to vote third party. A vote for democracy, I disagree. It's not a vote for Biden. The majority of the country did not support continuing supporting Israel. And still our politicians did not heed. That's not democracy to me. Well, at this rate, let's stage a coup. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I can't vote for someone who just killed so many people and literally said that Palestine was lying about how many people died. Like, I can't. Okay, Vermin, sure, I can go third party. I can vote for anyone. I can't vote for Biden anymore. Guys, you're condoning everything that Biden did if you vote for him. I understand that we live in a two-party state, but, like, no. For me, I can't do that. Bernie also didn't speak out in favor of a ceasefire. I've been completely disappointed by everyone who ran for president. Okay, well, we don't have to argue about who you're voting for. You can vote for whoever you want. You can vote for Biden. I'm just letting you know that I'm not voting for Biden. That's it. I'm not looking to change your mind. We're past that point now. I don't care about your minds. I don't care about my mind. I don't think it matters. I think America is too stuck in its ways. I've given up on this country. I feel like my mom's American dream has been once and for all destroyed in my mind, so seeing the way that politicians have kept completely mum about a genocide being committed in the year 2023 is insane to me. So y'all are gonna cancel me now because I said I'm not voting for Biden? Cool. That's fine. Okay, well, the people who have actively committed genocide in front of our faces, I'm not gonna vote for them again. Just because there are genocides happening everywhere doesn't mean shit. I'm not voting for a guy who very plainly let this happen and fueled it on by sending $14 billion more. We don't have healthcare in this country. I'm not gonna vote for Elizabeth Warren either. She's a soggy piece of bread just like me. And quite spineless recently too. Okay, sorry for missing your point. What's your point? Bernie's not gonna run. Would I vote for Bernie? Probably if he was the Democratic candidate, but they're probably gonna keep pushing Biden, which is dumb. It's a dumb decision, like all the other decisions that have been made recently. I know this isn't new, but this is new to me. Witnessing a genocide in real time is new to me. I'm 34. I haven't seen it like this before. I know that it isn't new in the role of history, but now that I've seen it, how can I possibly go back to doing the same? This is like, after we've seen the police shooting videos and we've seen shit go down, how can you possibly go back? In my brain, I can't erase the evidence I've seen. It's one thing to know that shit goes down, it's another to observe and to witness. What do I do with this new information? It's not going to work out, even if we vote for Trump. That's the point. America is beyond repair. If the Democratic Party decides to push Biden and the Republican Party is pushing Trump, is this really up for us to decide where the country is going? It's not going to work out for anyone. It hasn't worked out for most people. That's the game. I mean, I really don't think we should leave the country in the hands of men who are just look at them, guys. Just look at them. Just look at them. Just Well, Lex, why don't you tell me, if it's up to us, what you are planning to do and what you have done and what you see the changes to be. I'm open to hearing you out. You let me know what is up to us. Exactly what is up to us. Yeah, I'm down for a third party. I could be convinced. But I'm not voting for Biden, that's for fucking sure. Good, yeah. Sure. I'm glad Ohio voted to keep reproductive rights. Can we convince the rest of the country? To vote for whom exactly, if neither Biden nor Trump? It is the party who determines who they nominate. Because they throw their money behind the candidate of their choice. And people are very easily swayed, as we can observe, with the media and the press perpetuating certain narratives. People will believe it. Money makes you believe. Money shuts you up. Money buys you out. Money does all. For most. Not for all, but for most. Yeah, my YouTube app has been crashing quite a bit on this phone. I don't know if it's the phone or if it's the app, but there's a lot of technical glitches, and that's just how it goes. I bet it's YouTube. YouTube is doing all sorts of weird shit. All right, how many followers did I lose by saying I'm not going to vote for Biden? At this point, IDK and IDC. I don't think it matters who we vote for. It seems like American politics is stuck in a rut, you know? It's all performative in a way. Agree or disagree? I've made better videos that show you how to make dumplings. Probably. But sure. You can learn here too. Cornel West has run before, right? Honestly, making dumplings is just about making the filling. You can buy the dough, and then it's about crimping, which just comes with practice. So here's a round. A little heaping teaspoon of filling in the middle. You bring up the corners, meet at the top, cinch the top, press in one side, press in the other. You can make more folds if you want, or just keep it simple. And make sure you're pressing and sealing until it's shut. I think if our world is turning more and more into Black Mirror, the best thing to do is to not get too attached. I mean, period. In life, the best thing to do is not get too attached to anything. But especially as an online personality of sorts, I can't get attached to any of this. It's become more and more apparent that these things will just disappear whenever I become inconvenient and countercurrent. Freedom of speech is not applauded. So, I know my place, and I'm prepared to disappear. We cannot play the game and expect a different outcome. That's why I'm not voting for Biden. Voting for anyone isn't going to change the game either, realistically speaking, but not voting for Biden is a protest vote for what he did to Palestine. I refuse to vote for someone who did this to Palestine. I don't think Hers created their social media policy in response to my lies. I think Hers created their social media policy because they almost fired the editor-in-chief at Harper's Bazaar for posting a single Instagram story that said it is inhuman to have a blockade on humanitarian aid in Gaza. They made her issue a formal apology on her Instagram grid 2 days after she posted that story. I'm willing to bet that they threatened to fire her behind the scenes if she didn't. It is a gag order. Hearst sucks. And I'm so fucking glad that I don't work there anymore. Assholes. What about Iceland? What happened? I mean, journalism was already ruined, but Hearst is really dumb. You know, they make it very obvious what they're trying to do. They don't even try to hide it like other publications. But I think this whole Palestine conflict, genocide, whatever we want to call it now, has really made a lot of institutions show their true colors. It's really eye-opening and yeah, depressing, but at the end of the day, I'm glad we saw it so that we know who the real monsters are, so that we can face the reality of our world, so that we know who we're selling our souls to, so that we can maybe take a step back and not buy into the system any more than we already have. We need to divest our energies, we need to divest our lives, we need to divest our identities away from these violent stupidities. Hundreds of earthquakes, road splitting, holy shit. Yikes. Yeah, on top of the way that we've been destroying the environment, it's not enough, and we had to just fire it up even more by dropping more bombs. Can you imagine the amount of environmental damage this genocide has committed? Beyond just killing people, we're also killing the environment faster. The materials that's needed to build all those weapons, explosives, missiles, the amount of air pollution, water pollution, land pollution, the amount of destruction Israel has committed. It's all connected. The earth is angry. It's been angry. So it makes sense that we're angry too. We are just a microcosm of the macrocosm. Drink break. Do I like rap music? I guess it depends. What kind of rap? What are some good thrift stores to hit up in New York City? What are you looking for? Clothes? L Train Vintage is pretty fun. There's several locations. La Pointe Value has cheaper stuff that's less organized and curated. Also very cheap. There's a lot of fancy boutiques in the East Village. But yeah, many different ones. Beacon's Closet is a famous one. It's not cheap, but it is kind of fun. It's not completely curated, but the setting is very hipster and fresh. Who taught me how to make dumplings? I don't know. I made it once with my mom, but I think I had to teach myself for my job. They wanted me to make a dumpling recipe, so I just learned. You think people working in food media know everything, but they actually learn on the job a lot of the times. I mean, some of them know a lot, but the demand for food media is such that you don't always know what you're doing. You just do it, and then you hope other people trust you. Y'all shouldn't trust me. You've seen the kind of shit I'm capable of. You shouldn't trust me. You also shouldn't trust anyone. I'd just like to remind you, trust no one, not even yourself. Do not ever feel safe. Everyone's a disaster. Sometimes though, my brain does feel like that. Hi, San Diego County. I'll try not to curse as much, but thank you for watching. Do you think they chose you to make the dumplings because you are of Asian descent? What do you think, girl? What do you think? maybe volunteered for that too. I mean, the way that it worked at Delish was we had a list of SEO recipes to make, you know, things that would always get searched, and we wanted to grab a share of the website search results because that brings in views and clicks, and bringing in views and clicks means more advertisers are likely to pay you to advertise their shit. So, you know, out of the list, I saw this and I said, oh, that's kind of related to my culture, I guess. I'll work on it, because then I can at least ask my uncle and my mom their opinions. And I just felt like it was a time where I didn't feel Chinese enough, so I thought this would be a cool way for me to, like, practice my culture in a way. I don't know. I don't think as much that way anymore, but I like learning how to make dumplings. Oh, Julia's back making videos? Interesting. I haven't kept up. Have not kept up. I mean, hers is just very white. It's just very white. It's got culture, it's just white culture. The editor-in-chief at Cosmo has been accused of racism several times. She's still there, so. Or maybe they've changed? I don't know. I've been out of the scene for a minute. But yeah, there's a lot of racism, overt and covert. Funny thing is, they accused me of racism when they fired me, so. Who knows? Everything does happen for a reason. You just have to find the reason. And thankfully for me, I've found enough reasons and concocted enough reasons to make everything that's happened to me in the past 2 years make sense. So that I don't walk around feeling like absolutely lost. Although that's not true. I take that back. I feel completely lost. I don't think that's a bad thing though, but the world really has stopped making sense, which is fine. If you just accept the fact that it makes no sense, then it stops feeling as oppressive as if, you know, if you just stop the struggle of trying to understand things and let them not make sense, then that in itself is a sort of liberation. Funny thing is, the person they hired to replace me in that role was actually fired for being racist. So they did manifest that shit. I don't disagree with you, S. I do think that it's going to take some years for America to realize that. The problem with movements that seek to change systems that are very entrenched historically is that you need solidarity. So you're kind of preaching to the choir here as much as you can. Because I at least agree with you, so I feel like a lot of my viewers are likely to agree with you, but as for the rest of America, I mean, we've seen the worst. We've seen Trump winning, we've seen Trump supporters, we've seen folks both in Congress and not in Congress agree with Israel's actions, condone Israel's actions, support Biden's actions in supporting Israel's actions. I don't truly believe that next year we can change things, but I want to believe in it because I sure as hell don't want Biden or Trump. But solidarity is what it's going to take for us to overturn habits. I'll try to work towards it, but first we need to know what the alternatives are so we can sell the people on the alternative. So is Cornel West the best we've got, or is there someone else? There was a petition calling for a ceasefire that was directed to the food industry. So there were chefs, there were recipe developers, there were food personalities, there were owners of food businesses, and there were a lot of signatures gathered. And I was looking for the names of the old Bon Appetit test kitchen crew, and I only found Sola's. She was the only one from the old Bon Appetit test kitchen who signed it. No Brad, no Claire, no Chris, no Carla, no Molly. But Ethan, one of the co-founders of Burlap and Barrel, signed it. So when I saw his name, I was, I guess, pretty relieved. I've seen a couple of episodes of Sola on the History Channel on YouTube. I think people will only stand up when it's safe to do so. And right now it does not seem very safe to do so. People who think they have skin in the game will be very unlikely to lose that skin, I think. I think those people who left, yes, but they also left because they probably wanted to do something else with their lives, and they saw the implosion happening, knowing that none of the others really signed on to it, kind of puts some more things into perspective for me. The calculations of these moves, you know, they are ever present. I'm not blaming them. I guess it's practically speaking the smart thing to do, but I mean, the people who left Bon Appetit all have their little food brands now, you know. Molly's got 2 cookbooks. She's got a whole line of aprons and cookware, and people love her, and she's building an audience. Everyone who left has a cookbook, really. They have a following, so... I don't blame them, again. I understand. But now I know. Now I see. We all make our choices. I just have to concentrate on my own. What others do is not for me to be concerned about. Priya's working for the New York Times, I think. She's like a journalist and a chef. She does a lot of videos with the New York Times. If you have skin in the game, you should be even more passionate about the issue. No. They feel like they've worked hard to get there, and yeah, sure, they have. And they don't want to lose it all for strangers. I get it. And they probably also feel like they can't do much. You know, just being singular entities. And I don't disagree, but power is in solidarity. Power is in togetherness. Power is in community. Power is in unity. And that doesn't mean that we have to agree on everything, but it does mean that we have to agree on core issues, like, I don't know, publicly disapproving genocide. I've unfollowed some people, I've muted some people because I don't feel like seeing posts about recipes and books and merch in this time. But I get it. Other people do. Other people don't want to pay attention to genocide. And honestly, I don't either. Who wants to pay attention to genocide? But now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it. So this fixation is selfish for me, right? As I've said before, everything that we do is selfish. Even though it may seem altruistic, it is ultimately selfish. So I'm not doing anything better or worse. I'm just choosing my choice. So I've chosen my choice. We all choose it, and that's fine. I'm not so much judging other people. Well, maybe I am, initially. But afterwards, after the initial shock or disapproval fades, it just shows to me what people prioritize in their lives, and it makes it more clear to me to know who I want to be continually influenced by in my life. I'm not particularly motivated to be influenced by people who continue to sell shit during this time. But I understand that they have to do it because they have to support themselves, and they have to support their dreams, and they have to support their families. But my choice has been made clearer to me, seeing what they chose. And no choice is a choice. I'm glad to know that you disagree with genocide. Yeah, Trump is pro-Israel. I'm not surprised. But I do wonder what he would have done. He does seem like a lot more emotionally unstable. He does, like, Trump makes a lot of decisions based on his emotionality. Biden just seems kind of dead inside and outside. So Trump's opinions are very easily wavered, in my opinion. And he is more likely to be influenced by public opinion the way that the Biden administration has shown to not be. The admin's aides have come out in favor of ceasefire, and Biden has not paid attention to it. I do wonder what Trump would have done, you know, if his administration had come out in favor of a ceasefire. I just wonder. The reason why I say if we only have to choose between Biden or Trump, and I'm not voting for Biden, is because we have seen what Biden would do in this situation. He's done this, and I don't want this. I also don't want to condone this. I have not seen what Trump would have done in this case. I've seen Trump do ugly shit, dumb shit, racist shit, bad shit. I've seen a lot of Trump. We all have. But I already know how Biden's gonna react. Because we've all seen it. You know? I don't want to vote for Trump. I cried. Like, I remember that Trump winning the election felt the closest I've ever felt to what post 9/11 felt like to me. I would just be riding the subway, numb out of my brain, and then I would randomly start crying. Just the utter disembodiment and despair and disbelief and depression that kicked in after Trump won. I don't want that, but I also don't want another Gaza. There won't be another Gaza because we still haven't called for a ceasefire. Israel just rejected a deal for exchanging hostages for a 5-day ceasefire. They rejected that deal. If you're still thinking that Israel cares about getting its hostages back, I don't know what to tell you. They'd rather bomb hospitals. I'm not condoning Trump or anything his administration did, but I'm making it very clear that I cannot vote for Biden. The pandemic was very poorly handled on all sides, but it was a contagious disease. Sure, we could have done better, but this was a purely violent and US-funded genocide that we continue to funnel money into in the duration of killing civilians. I think these are two different events. Did people die in both of them? Absolutely. Yes. But this one we really could have stopped. Like point blank. Let's not play into the duality and the binary here. My opinion for not voting for Biden and voting for Trump is simply following the logic of the two-party system in the United States. Do I want a two-party system? Absolutely fucking not. It's a fake democracy. We know this. Israel is not about revenge. Israel is about taking the land. Israel has always been about taking the land. Israel has been taking the land for 7.5 decades. Israel seized this opportunity by using the Hamas kidnapping and attack as an excuse to go full blitz and wipe out the Palestinian population once and for all. And the US has done nothing to stop this, and we've only fueled it. We've fueled it for a decade. Obama signed an agreement to give them like $38 billion over the course of 10 years. And Biden just approved $14 billion in the middle of all of this violence. Like, this is US's war. It's not being fought in our land, but it's using our tax money, and it's very much using our weapons. And it started because Britain decided to give part of Palestine to create the state of Israel. So Britain, go you. You keep fucking shit up. Doesn't mean I hate British people, it just means the empire does what the empire does. The empire does this. The empire commits violence and kills and rapes and pillages and burns and explodes and incinerates and destroys. For power. In exchange for it, we have misery. We've given a lot of money to Ukraine too. Yep, for sure. Yep, Bush era vibes indeed. This is what the empire does. This is the American legacy. Remember that this land was founded the same way that Israel was founded. Like father, like son. I would not be surprised about October 7th. So many interviews have been given about hostages being released from the Hamas kidnapping, saying that they were treated with dignity, that they were given food and water. But guess what? Israel is the one that has a history of abusing, violating, torturing their hostages and prisoners of war. Israel is now arresting their own citizens for speaking in support of Palestinians. A country who punishes its own citizens and prohibits them from practicing freedom of speech cannot be a democracy. That is why America is not a democracy. Good night. Oh yeah, we create the wrong side. Yeah, this is not the first time that we're on the wrong side because we create the wrong side. We wish to unsettle all competing powers, and we only support the ones who support our politics, right? That makes sense to me. As an empire, of course, you can only support the ones who support you. It's like a mafia. We live in a mafia state. We coerce others to pay tribute to us. Taxes, in terms of diplomacy and international relations, That makes sense. I'm not a policy or, politic major or expert, but that makes sense to me. This is like playground dynamics, but just full-fledged nation states playing this game. Oh, you don't have to find it for me. I've already seen friends post it. Whether or not that is the truth is irrelevant. Israel still did what Israel did. I don't care who started what. Israel has committed so many war crimes. At this point, everything else is irrelevant. And the U.S. has supported these war crimes. Everything else is irrelevant. I have now seen the true colors of our government. I have now seen the true colors of our systems of media. I've seen the true colors of our corporations and where they stand on freedom of speech. I've seen all the uglies. I've seen so much shit. It is not something that I can unsee. And so I am slowly divesting my energy and my spirit away from all of this. This game is not for me to play. It is not for me to win. And I can't believe it took me this long, but better late than never. Yeah, you know what? The Brits could have given the Jewish people a land that wasn't Palestine. They could have given the Jewish people a land, in Germany, where crimes against the Jews were committed as punishment. Why would you give somebody land that isn't... I mean, yes, I guess they had their hands in Palestine already, right? So they believed that it was their land to give. But that's where the fault in the logic lies. It wasn't their land to give. The whole heartache about this, it's not just about Israel. It's about the support from other countries for Israel that have enabled all of this to happen. The empire does not act alone. It's a gang. It requires gang members. And we have seen all the gang members stay silent and abet and accomplice and... I would be careful. Some Jewish people believe Israel was their land before it was Palestine. I have Jewish friends who are not Zionists. Maybe biblically it was, but I think right now, if there are actual people living in the land, to kill them is not very nice. I don't really not believe in the Bible, but I also can't believe in the Bible. The Bible also said God flooded the entire world and only saved Noah and his family. Like, has that been scientifically proven? I don't know. I mean, we can't believe it. We can also not believe it. But whether or not you believe the Bible is irrelevant. It is a crime to kill people like this. I don't understand how using religious justifications make killing people like this any more acceptable. And it's not really the religion that's the issue, because I have Jewish friends who don't believe in this, don't condone this, are actively against this genocide, are actively pro-Palestine. I think let's not feed into the anti-Semitism that is on the rise, okay? Let's not lump all Jewish people into one. Let's just pay attention to what the state of Israel is doing. And let's also give heed to the fact that there are Israeli citizens who are speaking out against this genocide. who are getting punished for speaking out for the Palestinian cause. Let's not use identity politics against each other the way they have been weaponized against us forever. Let's not do this. I think, religious history or not, if you have a soul, I should hope you don't believe in killing people for whatever reason. Pizza burgers? What's a pizza burger? I was gonna say, is it like burger meat on pizza? But that would be a burger pizza. A pizza burger? What's a pizza burger? Hell, 2 hours. How are you feeling? 100 of you watching me make dumplings at 9:20 p.m. on a Saturday night. What a life. What a blessing to have electricity and running water and food for months available in my kitchen, all this space, no bombing, no screams, no cries, no destruction, no white phosphorus. That's all I can think about these days. How lucky. How randomly lucky I am. How could I ever complain about not having health insurance again? Yep, it's still going. We'll be here for like 3 hours trying to make enough dumplings to feed Grandma for a month. I'm glad. I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad you guys are still here to talk, to listen, to argue, to debate, to think. I'm glad that the censorship hasn't muted me completely yet so that we can continue to have these spaces and times together. I'm glad that we're continuing to question our world. I'm glad that we're criticizing each other. I think it is in our disagreements and arguments that we are forced to do the most thinking. If you are open to thinking, that is. That is why I said at the beginning of the first live that malfunctioned, that I will not be responding anymore to Zionists in the comments. They are here to simply push their agenda and not really to discuss. They are not open to hearing facts. They just cherry pick. I don't blame them, but I don't believe them, and I don't want to believe in them, and I don't think they deserve my time and attention. And I think we have to start ignoring them because they feed on our energy, and they absorb this energy that we can direct elsewhere for actual mobilization and change, or just for self-care, because even though we are not under bombardment and we are not at risk of being killed and bombed, I think even witnessing all of this is affecting us deeply, you know? Whether or not we acknowledge it, we're witnessing it, we're thinking about it, we're drinking it in. It is in the air we breathe, and it is in the water that we drink, and it is in our bodies. It is a universal trauma. To know that our world can function this way is traumatic. It is like the adult version of learning that Santa is not real. It's like waking up and discovering that everyone in your life is actually a monster. I don't know if I'll use all that dough, but I'm trying to use up all the filling, so we'll see. Yes, exactly. Nonviolence, talk, discussion, thought, debate. We can disagree. That is the first step to creating community. We have to address the parts where we don't coincide in order to find the parts where we do coincide. And if we actually do want to build solidarity, we have to start by addressing our differences, not by ignoring them. But for the people who are not here to create community, I have no time or energy to devote to them and their causes anymore. Amazon Prime offering health services? I don't know if I got that, first of all. And second of all, what? What kind of health services are they offering? Why don't they give their workers some health insurance, huh? Stupid PR shit. All these companies pretending to be our allies, meanwhile abusing their own employees behind closed doors, shutting down unions, punishing worker solidarity, erasing worker rights, intimidating them into giving up collective bargaining and organizing. Do not forget, the hand that feeds you is attached to a monster. Think about how much of that monster's food you're willing to intake. Do you know of an area that is relatively safe and has decent housing for low-income people? No. New York City has no low-income. No, you're just gonna have to have roommates. Our mayor has ensured that we don't have affordable housing anymore. That's how gentrification starts. People migrating to New York looking for cheap rent. I'm sure if there were an area like that, it would have been gone very quickly. They would have developed the shit out of it and made sure it wasn't low income friendly anymore. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. But New York City is not affordable. Pretty good at these wrappers. Nice. New skill. Props to the viewer who told me to start making them into rounds instead of squares. I do like this process a lot more, even though I feel like it takes more time. But they do make more structurally sound dumplings and make for a more pleasant crimping experience. Always open to suggestions, including third-party candidates we should be pushing for 2024. I don't have high hopes, but it's good to have goals, huh? Giving up just means giving into depression these days. So for the sake of my own mental health, maybe I do need to believe in change being possible, so that I don't want to like wake up and just die every day. Yeah, I'm afraid your son's gonna have to find roommates. Just go on Street Easy, take a gander. You'll get a sense of what all the real estate prices are. Like, what is the range of rent your son is willing to pay? I could give you some clues based on that amount, or I can tell you if it's completely impossible. I use hot water for my dough and cold water to supplement any dry spots. The hot water kind of congeals and gels the dough a little bit so that it's a lot tender and a little bit more elastic without being super hard to roll out. Good night. There's also housing lottery in New York City, but sometimes you wait for years before you even get selected. So that is also income dependent. True. Change is possible. We're making it every day. It just doesn't seem visible, but we must not be discouraged. Everything is cumulative. That is what I'm trying to remind myself these days. Even if you don't see your push affect the change you want to see immediately, we have to believe that it is doing something over time. I think our society is fixated on instant gratification and instant results, but that is a illusion that is detrimental. We must believe that we must do things consistently in order to affect change. That is a very good reminder. Thank you for that reminder. I think most of all, capitalism has made us abandon ourselves. I see this in friends who hate their jobs, who say, you know, well, I have to work because I got to pay the rent. Capitalism has made a practice of alienating ourselves from ourselves, not just from our labor, but from ourselves, from denying ourselves what gives us actual motivation to stay alive, what gives us impetus to get up in the morning and feel like there's joy in living. It's sucked the marrow out of our inspiration for being alive. Like, that is pretty horrific. It's not visible, relatable violence, but it is violent. The fact that it's made us forget ourselves, it's made us reject ourselves, it's made us deny ourselves. Like, this is the long-term work of capitalism. I'm not saying other ideologies wouldn't have done the same to us over time, but I am saying that this is the current ideology that has made us mold ourselves to the ideology's purposes, and it's made us into human sacrifices. So how do we wake up from this nightmare and reclaim ourselves a little bit while still staying alive within the system but not buying into the system further? How do we disengage so that we don't feed the monster any more than we have to? That's the question that's on my brain. How many non-capitalistic societies can you think of right now? Which are the remaining non-capitalistic societies? I also have to go pee. But I want to hear what you have to say about non-capitalistic societies first. I'm very curious. Yeah, okay, Cuba. And that's why we still have, like, sanctions and embargoes on them, right? The US and its allies are punishing countries like Cuba. And it's creating disasters within Cuba, because it doesn't want a place like Cuba to thrive. Now, if we can get solidarity on board and change all nations to Cuba, I'm sure we'll find a new way to create conflict, but let's get there first, huh? I agree. Pee time. Is it time for another snack? I want another snack. I don't know what to eat. Oh, an apple. An apple sounds good. I don't even know if it's possible for our imaginations to handle envisioning a world where things are not a capitalistic function. Like, I don't know if we have it in us to even visualize that and how that would operate, because we're so entrenched in it, right? But I would like to believe we are. I've been looking into tax protesting. So, for people who don't want to get jailed for tax evasion, there are several ways you can reduce your tax to the US government, since you know your taxes are being used in war and genocide. One way is to simply make less money. Another way is to work under the table so that you're not on the books. Another way is to make sure that you are filling out maximum amount of deductions on your W-9. I think that's the form you fill out when you go start a new job. And you can change this at any time, by the way, so that you are withholding the money and not having it automatically deducted from your paychecks. And you would still pay your taxes at the end of the year, but you would not be giving your deductions regularly to the government, because what do they do once they get your automatic deductions from your paychecks? They invest it in God knows what thing. So obviously you can still do hardcore protests, but that will most likely land you with a lot of fines. But I'm going to learn more about this, and I'm going to come back to you guys with new stuff that I learn. But yeah, either earn less money so you pay fewer taxes, or work off the books, or make sure that you're not having maximum automatic taxes being pulled from your pay stubs every time. I would love to be fed mushroom bourguignon. That sounds so delicious. Thank you for offering virtually. Oh, we have a Discord for this channel, actually. It hasn't always been political, but I feel like the OG runners of the Discord would not mind some politic discourse. So feel free to drop that in the chat, mods. Karen? Karen might be the only mod. I don't know if Karen knows. Karen, are you on the Discord? But yeah, we do have a Discord somewhere. I don't participate in it, but it is alive and well, I believe. There we go. Thanks, Scary. Yay. And also, if you guys reach out to me on Instagram, can you just introduce yourself by your YouTube handle first? Because sometimes I feel like you think I know who you are, but I don't actually know who you are. I think it would just help me to connect some dots. Believe it or not, I do read all my DMs. Sometimes if I don't respond, it's because I have nothing to say back to you, or you're sending me memes that I have absolutely no interest in watching. But other than that, if you send me a message, I feel like I normally at least give you an emoji, unless I'm in a really bad mood, which does happen. You know. I think we have to shift the discussion about being anti-capitalist as a spectrum, right? We can be anti-capitalist in spirit and intellect and motivation and intrinsic drive and identity, even while participating in a capitalistic world. We simply don't have to buy into the values of capitalism. Like, we don't have to succeed by what capitalism tells us what success is. We don't have to make more money than everyone else to feel like we're winning the game. We don't have to play the capitalist game. We just have to survive. So how do we survive without playing into the hand of oppression? Because capitalism is all about, are you being taken advantage of as a worker, or have you become a capitalist who can control the workers and their labor? You don't have to become a capitalist. But I think a lot of us are ingrained and programmed to become a capitalist, even when we don't want to become like a boss or a Jeff Bezos. We are still holding ourselves to the standards of conventional success in a way that makes us police ourselves in accordance with what a capitalist would do and would like and would have. And I think being anti-capitalist begins there. Inside, knowing what you want is not in line with what capitalism wants you to want. Realizing that this is not a game that you are trying to win, because winning this game means that you play into the hands of most of the people who are not speaking out about this genocide. We have been conditioned, and it's not our fault, but if you are, of an age where you can think independently, and, you're not completely financially unstabilized, destabilized, deprived, and you have the space to be able to think about, well, should I start withdrawing some of my dedication to the system? Then yeah, I would say that qualifies as being anti-capitalist. Doesn't mean that you have to debunk capitalism as a system to be anti-capitalist. You simply have to realize that you don't support the system as the rule and end-all be-all of the structure in your life. I've done a lot of self-blame and self-battering in the past year because my life has shifted so much since I've been fired. I don't really have a full-time job anymore, and I felt like for a long time, I'm just gonna rest and take a gap year and rethink my life. And now that the year has been over and I'm into my second year of no full-time job, I went through a stage where I basically started saying to myself, what are you doing? You're behind schedule. And I started blaming myself for not going back to the life of a full-time employee. But I'm also starting to realize now that not all work is paid work. Capitalism has made me believe that all production must end in monetary reward and compensation, but I now have time to think about things and research things and learn about things and join new groups that are doing different things, trying to change the way that we structure our own lives and minds and hearts and pull them into alignment with stuff that isn't capitalistically driven. And these are luxuries that I wouldn't have been otherwise afforded if I stayed in full-time jobs. And now that we have a genocide ongoing, to put into perspective what my existence is like and what my existence could have been had I been less lucky in life, I think it shows me that there's more than one way to live, even though capitalism may make you believe that there's only one right way to live and one right way to succeed. I think that takes practice and time for me to debunk, and I'm trying. I don't really use my Twitter. I used it when I was unionizing at Hearst, but it was mostly for union activities. I think that's honestly what got me into trouble too. But hey, no regrets. Sometimes the destructuring and destruction of routines is the starting point of change, and if we're open to it, it can really shift the whole framework and lens on life and meaning. I think about all the time now when my mom said to me, money isn't money until it's spent. And then I look at the way that she scrounged and saved to the point where she didn't allow herself to have like heating in the winter just to save on bills. And then she died in an untimely manner. And she had been saving for retirement or I don't know, God knows what. And it makes me think about like how capitalism makes us relegate the present in exchange for the future. And the future is the carrot that capitalism teaches us to dangle in front of ourselves so that we start policing ourselves to do its bidding. It's parasitic, really, the way that we are taught to exchange every liberty in life for financial stability, when really financial stability is entirely abstract and empty. At any given moment, we can suffer economic collapse because it's not really real. This currency that we have is completely unreal. Mom said so many contradictory things, and I think in grieving I've had to digest all of her words over and over again, and it like makes me both sad, depressed, and angry that she couldn't live in alignment with her own advice. We're all guilty of this, but now that Mom's dead, it hits a little differently, and it makes me more aware now of the own contradictions of my life. I don't think Mom would be very happy if I repeated her choices. But to what degree am I cursed and fated to repeat her? I don't know. The curse of the philosopher, say more. What does that mean? That sounds sexy as fuck. I'm sure it's not sexy, but it sounds sexy. Hey, we gotta suffer in style when we can, right? That's a luxury too. The Curse of the Philosopher. That's a bestseller if I've ever heard one. Although it does kind of sound like an asshole title. Like, only an asshole would write a book titled The Curse of a Philosopher by June. Like, how far up your own asshole do you have to be to title that? I'm pretty sold on my book of whatever genre being titled Beans and Cheese at Midnight. I really do love that title. Beans and Cheese at Midnight. Let's say you learn of my book. Oh, there's a fruit fly. And it's coming out next spring. What do you think that book would contain? In your imagination, what sort of book would I write? People always say they would read a book and buy a book that I write. I don't even know what book that would be. I feel like most people want either grief writing or recipes or both. Getting quite good at this. Essays and poetry, okay. But about what? Would it be about grief? Everything? I feel like more and more books are becoming a capitalist status symbol. It feels very masturbatory, masturbatory. In this world where digital communication is free and available for all to access at a moment's notice, you know, I just feel like there's a certain classist tinge to book publishing. Do you agree or disagree? I would love to hear your thoughts on this, actually. I think that's the driving obstacle mentally for me in convincing myself that a book would be worth me spending time on making. I don't see a point in it. I mean, I could see myself substacking this book. You think the calico kitty likes me? It's a very cute cat. It's like a floral shop cat that I pass by. What do you hate about new novels? What is the fault in the new novels? Very curious. Do people read? Does my audience read? Because I don't read. Yeah, I also read when I'm super depressed. That is kind of like my emergency therapy. When I'm feeling really bad and suicidal sometimes, I have to read. It's the only thing that can calm me down. I guess that explains why I was an English major. I think there is something about the written word that really reaches me in a way that other mediums don't. A lot of people told me to read Crying in H Mart. Do you like it? Hi, SoCal. See, the problem with that kind of book about, you know, scrounging leftovers in the fridge to make new meals is it's very hard to make a recipe happen from that kind of philosophy and practice. And on top of that, there have already been a lot of books that achieve exactly that. So I almost feel like I don't need to add to that canon. Hi, Singapore. I don't know if I'm close to my grandma. I just visit her every day. But emotionally speaking, I don't know if I'm invested in her as much as you think I am. I think I mostly do it out of obligation and guilt. We read excerpts of Braiding Sweetgrass in farm school. Did you like it? Yeah. Maybe I should read that one. The body keeps score. Yes, that is a big one. I remember my pastry chef told me about that book made way back in like 2017 or 2018. What is my goal for writing a book? That is the question, yes. When my mom was still alive, she really wanted me to write a book. And I really didn't understand what the goal was. At the time, Simon & Schuster, an editor, reached out and they wanted me to write a cookbook. And I said, what percentage of the audience of Budget Eats would have the disposable income to buy a cookbook? It just literally did not make sense to me in my head. I don't know who I would have been writing this before. And, you know, in English class, they always tell you, keep in mind your audience, write for your audience. And I'm like, well, who the fuck is my audience in this case? Because I know I wouldn't buy a $40 cookbook if I'm watching a lady cook trash meals for $25 a week. So, great question. I don't know. This is why we can't have nice things, Spec Moss. I want to thank you guys for accompanying me on a 3-hour journey to make dumplings and rant. After 2 failed lives, here we are, talking about books, after talking about genocide, after talking about politics and despair, and talking about capitalism and existentialism and book publishing. Oh, it sure has been a depressing couple of weeks. And I'm pretty sure that, like, this is a depression that won't really ever leave our bodies. I think we're gonna have to carry this for quite some time. Because it's shown us a whole new world. Much in the same way that the pandemic did. It is hard to forget. I don't need to cheer up. I appreciate the well wishes, but I really don't need to cheer up. There's nothing warranting me cheering up. And I think part of regaining our feelings in a capitalistic world is acknowledging when we don't feel good and allowing ourselves to not feel good. Capitalism wants us to feel good all the time so that we can get back to work. That became evident to me when I went on bereavement. And people started writing into me about how they only had 3 days to grieve before they had to report back to work. How the fuck does that shit work? We're supposed to pretend it's normal that you just lost your family member and within 72 hours you're ready to be a robot again? Yo, fuck that noise. True, you are watching me make dumplings on a Saturday night. But I do have a certain audience, you know, what else were you gonna do with your Saturday night? Be honest. Be honest. Capitalism means working so you can buy your happiness, yes. It alienates us from ourselves and our labor so that we can sell it to them for cheap, and then they sell it back to us, and in the process, not only are we selling ourselves until we're completely empty and soulless, we're also destroying the world by concocting things we never needed to begin with to fill back the holes that they made us dig out of ourselves. Don't dig yourselves out to begin with. How do you manage to preserve as wholesome of a self as possible so that you don't need to buy into the remedies that they sell you after they destroy you? How do you do preventative care so that you won't need to use their drugs to feel whole again? That, I think, is what being an anti-capitalist means to me at this point in my life. Did you name it? There's no way you skipped out on a party to watch me make dumplings for 3 hours. You crazy girl. But I hope it was worth it. I don't want to deal with the weight of other people's regrets. The new looks atrocious. There's another one. Johnny Depp one wasn't enough. Who's Willy Wonka this time? How do I feel about AOC? I mean, I recently donated to her campaign, and I think it says something that she spoke out for a ceasefire, and in the vast majority of Congress ignoring the issue and being silent on it, I think it says something. How do I feel about her otherwise? I don't know how I feel. How should I feel? Oh, God. Timothée Chalamet is Wonka? Ooh. Ooh. Any plans for Thanksgiving? I've been invited to a couple. I don't know if I'm feeling social enough, to be honest with you. When I'm depressed, I tend to self-isolate because I just feel like I'm bringing bad vibes with me, and I feel guilty for ruining other people's good mood and cheer, and I just don't want to be like dampening other people's sunshine. So I don't know. Whoa, you have so many raccoon friends. Who's your favorite? Hugh Grant is an Oompa Loompa. Okay, we've severely reached the end of civilization with this movie. Absolutely, grief can tie us together. I think the pandemic showed that. I think a lot of social movements have showed that. I think a lot of social movements were born out of grief, born out of the necessity to heal. So I completely agree with that statement. Hi, San Fran. Yeah, if I end up not going anywhere and I feel like not completely terribly shot, then I might go live on Thanksgiving. We can keep each other company. Have you seen my joints? I don't think I would make a good Tomb Raider. I don't even raid my fridge well anymore without my knees cracking. Well, you can send video to Discord. Yeah, make your walls sweat. That is an OG fan comment for sure. I believe the kids will say, if you know, you know. I don't do a good English accent, unfortunately. Can you tell us about farm school? Yes, we just had our last class today. Next week, next Wednesday, will be our celebratory last meeting over Zoom. I am enjoying, but I mentally tapped out about a couple of months ago, and I want to feel like farming will be in my future, but it's kind of hard for me to imagine it in my immediate future just because Grandma's still here, and I feel like I almost can't really do anything drastically different than what I'm doing now while she's still alive. So my life is kind of mentally on pause, you know? I felt a little bit of resentment, but I think I'm getting used to it now, and I'm just accepting it, and as bad as it may sound, a lot of my life is just kind of waiting for her to die.
I don't wish her death, but I also have to be honest with the fact that I can't really begin to think for myself until I don't have her as a responsibility anymore, so... Can you have my recipe for pumpkin pie salt? I think that just... Add salt to pumpkin pie spice. The end. Yes, I would love to be on everyone's homestead, at least like in a couch surfing mode. Maybe I'll come and join you for 3 to 6 months and work, and you can house me, and we can stop exchanging currency in terms of money and just give each other what we need to sustain ourselves, and that would be super cool. Is the purpose of farm school to teach food growing techniques to people who live in the city and don't have access to a lot of land, or what's the philosophy? It is to teach people about urban agriculture with a focus on BIPOC background, knowledge, issues, and traditions. We learn about different ways of teaching and learning. We learn about popular education, for example. That was the first unit. Then we learn about food justice, food sovereignty, food apartheid. We learn about botany. That was the third course. We learn about plant names and plant science, and we learn about soil. That was another course. We learn about carpentry, you know, because you need to build things on the farm. But these are all very like quick cursory classes. They give you the basics, but it's really not enough for me to sink into my brain all the knowledge that is being passed in each class. So, you know, we do learn the basics of how to be a farmer, but it's just cursory, because all of these things, or cursory rather, all of these things obviously will take more than a year to learn and internalize, but the program only lasts a year. Do I often give people a second chance? I give trolls like you many chances, yes. I give them a chance until they hurt me irrevocably, and then I swear them off forever. You know, up until the day that I was fired, honestly up until last month, I was giving someone at my last job a lot of benefit of the doubt, and I was talking with an ex-worker about this, and he was like, no, and I was like, oh, you're right. Why was I so dumb? So yes, I do. I'm pretty gullible. You should have a sandwich. What sandwich will you have? You are not a troll? I mean, it's hard to take your name seriously. It's okay. I like my trolls. I like my intellectual, you know, verbally jabby trolls that mean well and don't do harm. I think we need a little bit of comedic relief and eyebrow-raising, gray area, borderline crossing statements to keep us on our toes and entertained. So you are very much needed and welcome in this community when you do decide to come and join us and be yourself and provide us entertainment. Thank you for participating and contributing to this community of absolutely fucking weirdos on the internet. Glad to be here. It's an honor. What's the name of your chicken? Yeah, I think maybe this might be the last batch of dumplings. I mean, I did say it was going to be a 3-hour long live, didn't I? We've done the dumplings enough times now for me to know that if I work through an entire pound of ground pork, it's going to take 3 hours to finish wrapping everything. Barry, that's a cute chicken name. I have not read The Hunger Games. I do not intend on reading The Hunger Games. This is how much filling we have left. Speaking of Barry, it used to be my favorite TV show. What the fuck happened to the last couple of seasons? It was awful. So disappointing. I mean, spending 3 hours on dumplings every couple of weeks isn't all that much effort. But yes, I hope she does recognize the fact that I do try, even though I can't give her all of her wants and desires. And I do feel guilty sometimes that I don't, because she's literally kind of trapped in a nice prison, but a prison nonetheless. And I'm basically her only source of external stimulation and provision. But I am just only one person, and I also have to make sure that I don't burn out. So these last 2 years have all been about finding the middle ground of balance, or a semblance of it. An asymptotic approach to finding balance, maybe. Grandma's favorite way to eat the dumplings is boiled. She likes them fried sometimes too, but it gets kind of too crunchy and hardy for her to bite, you know? I have bought dumplings for Grandma. She does eat them. What's the point, I guess, is for me to do some cooking for her. It does kind of make me feel like I'm doing more for her than just giving her dumplings. It makes me feel more involved in caretaking for her. It also gives me practice. It gives me a task with which to orient myself. I like getting better at rolling out dumpling wrappers, for one, even though these are horrendously not round that I just showed you. You know, practice is satisfying in and of itself, and I like approaching visible expertise. I don't really want to be an expert, but I think the act of approaching and practicing approaching expertise is very interesting, and it might just be the core of life, really. So in taking care of Grandma, I'm also learning how to approach death. I have to think about what death means for all of us, what death means in the context of our lives. I have to think about what it means to grow old, what it means to lose your facilities. I am, in a way, looking into a crystal ball of my own future when I look at Grandma, which I think might have been the most triggering part of caretaking for Grandma from my mom's perspective. I think my mom saw Grandma and swore that she would never become Grandma, but that wasn't very realistic. But Mom wasn't very realistic. And so for me, I'm trying to understand how to digest my own decline in a way. And I think being so close to Grandma on a daily basis, at least physically, to witness her aging, is exposing me to acknowledgement and acceptance of what it means to get older and to transform and lose your current sense of self. I also think that it gives me perspective. I don't want to conflate the two, but in my brain, if I'm honest, I do conflate all sources of, all instances of death in terms of punctuating life and giving meaning to it. So in the same way that I've been affected by witnessing this genocide go down, I've also been witnessing Grandma's aging go down. And I think in many ways, both of these events are teaching me how to live without rejecting the inevitable, which is very important in being an anti-capitalist, because capitalism doesn't want us to remember that we're gonna die. It does everything to make us feel like we're gonna live forever, and it's this aversion to death that I think drives all of us to work so hard, to earn so much more money, to get success and become famous so that we may be remembered. It drives us to have children, to give ourselves new purpose. But me, on the witnessing end of aging, I've been more confirmed in my choice to not have children ever since I've started taking care of Grandma. If it's not something that I personally want to live through, I'm not going to bring someone else into the same cycle. I think if you're scared of dying slowly, think about the fact that we are always on the spectrum of dying. Ever since we were born, we've been traveling towards death. What is there to fear in terms of dying slowly when we have been doing it our whole lives? We're experts at it, but they just have made us not acknowledge it, you know? And I think it's important for us to keep in mind that this isn't anything foreign, and it isn't anything scary. It just is. I've not read Jainist philosophy, but I think they're the ones who practice like, they're kind of like functioning as like the way Jesus lived, right? Basically as beggars almost. They own nothing and they rely on the gifts and kindness of others. I've always found that fascinating, for sure. Last dumpling, that's more like a wonton. That's it, guys, we did it. And you're gonna get your wish because we have one more wrapper left. We're gonna microwave that, okay? I don't know if whoever was clamoring for it is still here, but. About how many do you think you made? Let's count the top layer and multiply it by 3. And then we can figure that out. Yeah. Some therapists, even when I talk to them about having disordered eating, they tell me that, like, eat to live, don't live to eat. And my brain just goes, huh? How dare you say that to me? 2, 4, hold on, I didn't do this right. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 37. We made over 100. So that's like 2 minutes per dumpling. Ay, ay, ay. your back and shoulders a little bit. What you gonna do though? We gotta feed Grandma. Let's make this thin as possible so that it inflates more. I think if we do it really thin, it's more likely to bubble. Let's do a little bit of salt. That's probably too much salt. All right, you ready? Ooh, God, almost dropped you. Back in your usual place you go. Well, Luz, welcome. We're almost done with this live after 3 hours. I don't know, you guys tell Luz if it's nice here. I'm only gonna spew propaganda, obviously. Or is it Luz? I don't know if I'm saying her name right. It smells good. It smells really savory. It's a little bit toasty. Yeah, it's like papadum. I'm gonna let it cool off a little bit. Man, it smells so good for just being flour and water, honestly. Okay. It's pretty good. Well, guys, we did it. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you next time. I'm gonna go live my life after doing dishes. Take care of each other, take care of yourself. Don't argue with strangers on the internet anymore. We're all really blasted and depressed, and you don't need that shit. Find people who do agree with your views and build that community and spend your time nurturing each other. And give yourself some time to just heal. Because it's pretty fucking tiring being alive, ain't it?